Hey, what's up, everybody? We are back with another episode of Dominate Your City, Look for Your Leaders. I'm Jason Richardson. This is Laura Richardson, my wife. We are with Hunter Rowe Real Estate. And today we have an awesome guest, Mike Baglio. He's the owner and founder of BoxScore Fitness, which we'll get into, but it's an all-in-one online workout solution. So, Mike, we appreciate you joining us, man. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So before we get started into the nitty-gritty of the business and what this is and how you even came up with this super cool, probably the most unique idea I think we've had on the show thus far.
So it's not, this isn't something tangible. You can't walk into a store. He's not selling a shirt to you, but it's actually, we're talking technology today. And Mike is an awesome person for this. And I think you're going to say it was probably the different niche what we usually have there.
Absolutely. But I think let's do the man behind the screen, if you will. If you can tell us a little bit about who you are, family life, your interests, and that sort of thing.
Yeah, sure. So I'm Mike. So I moved to Raleigh about 6 years ago. My wife, Lauren, and I got married. She was from Florida. I was from Boston, and we kind of settled right in the middle. So I've been in technology for, 10 or 11 years. I have a beautiful 3-year-old daughter and another one on the way. So pretty much you can find me doing sports, CrossFit, church, and just hanging out.
Well, that's awesome. So I'm assuming that the pink playhouse in the background is for your 3-year-old daughter, or is that just like afternoon delight for you?
That's for me. It's my little getaway.
That's what I thought.
Everybody needs a place away from the office for sure. Some people have a hammock, you have a pink playhouse.
I need to update the lock situation. She can break in far too easily.
Oh my goodness.
Let's jump into, well, first of all, what's your background? So we know that you have this online app and fitness platform that we're going to talk about, but what's your background in general?
So I'm a computer science major. So I've been doing software, like I said, for about 10 or 11 years. I started off doing like server backend work. Then I did like 3 or 4 years of mobile. And I've kind of bounced around to pretty much all aspects of the technology stack. I currently work full-time actually at SaaS, where I do like cloud stuff. So I've kind of bounced around the whole technology stack. So when trying to make my own product, it's kind of nice. It's good and it's bad. It makes it really hard to outsource because I'm like, oh, I know how to do that because I know how to do pretty much all of it. So that's been interesting for me. But getting BoxScore off the ground, it was kind of great because I had over the past decade, I've gotten to work in each of the areas, and so when I had an idea and wanted to put into practice, it was kind of just putting it all together.
So let's talk about that idea that popped in. Tell us what BoxScore is. And then maybe through where it is now, but you've been through several iterations over the past years, more than likely. So tell us what BoxScore is.
All right. So when I first, when Lauren and I first got married, like I said, we came from opposite sides of the country and settled in the middle, and we didn't really know anybody, wasn't really involved in any sort of community. And so when we came, the first thing we did was find a church because our faith has always been important to us. And then the second thing we did was try to find a gym. At first, we kind of went the Planet Fitness route, and that was not good for our marriage. We realized that we were far better friends than workout partners. And actually, through church, Brennan McKeechern, which you may or may not know, introduced us to CrossFit. We got set up with Iron Tribe, which is kind of a CrossFit knockout, and that's where we made all of our friends, our relationships, and so I kind of went through that for about 3 or 4 years, where we were using like Iron Tribe went through a couple iterations of software. I ended up at a different CrossFit gym, saw what they had, and I realized that for most people, their software was kind of a means to an end. It was like, it's fine, but nobody was like in love with what they were using. It just wasn't bad enough that anybody did anything about it. So when the gym that I was a member of started rebranding, they went from an Iron Tribe to United Fitness. We kind of kicked around the idea of, well, what if I made something, would you guys be a beta gym? So in January, I think it was, of 2017, could have my date wrong. I believe it's January 2017. They approached me, or I approached them, one of the two, and they were going live in March or April. So I kind of rapidly threw together a prototype that was very raw. There was a lot of growing pains. I appreciate their patience and took patience on my end, and we got through it. And over the course of the past 2 or 3 years, it's just continued to like iterate on it, get better, and just kind of learn.
So you as an athlete, when you were there, you saw there was an issue with maybe some of the tracking of workouts, or there was a few platforms out there, but they didn't solve all the problems. And so that kind of was ideally where you came up with the concept of it. Is that correct?
Yeah. So the ones that kind of did everything looked terrible. And then there were some that looked good, but they didn't do everything. And so you kind of had to choose between like a good user experience or a good all-in-one platform. And there wasn't really something that brought those two worlds together.
And this is where Mike the entrepreneur was born. Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely.
That's right.
I mean, you're over here, you had a full-time job, you're an athlete, and you saw this need out in the market, and you're like, well, I don't know, it's out there, I'm going to fix it, and I'm going to do it better. And that's kind of where it's been over the past few years, for sure.
I think it's kind of cool that you took that idea and decided to run with it, because a lot of people would notice, okay, there's this issue, somebody else will fix it, right? Somebody will come up with an idea, but instead you're like, no, I've got the background, I've got the expertise, I got the passion for this fitness area, and you rolled with it and created what you created. I do think it's interesting that you brought up the fact that the consumer or like the athlete might want one kind of experience, while the gym owner definitely has the criteria they need, and how you somehow managed to marry the two together. So I think that transition is kind of cool.
Yeah. So go through like the website or what it offers, a few of the platforms or a few of the things that you offer within the platform that you have.
Sure. So my target customers kind of moved around a little bit over the years. It started off primarily geared towards gyms, which I still do support, and I have some gyms on the platform. But I actually found my niche really in the online programming space. So there's a lot of personal training software out there, some of which is very good, some of which is not. And personal trainers have needs, and those needs are kind of well known, well documented, and catered to well. But then there's the whole other side of group fitness, which is like your CrossFit or your spin classes or your yoga studios, and those primarily have always been tied to brick and mortar locations. But what started to happen, or what I started to notice, so I'm a fan of CrossFit, admittedly. So I was like, man, I got to get some big athletes on board. And so I started to slide into everyone's DMs and learn. I joked around with somebody and described it kind of as like speed dating, but everybody thinks you're ugly. So I'd like go into a DM and get nothing. And then eventually I started to get responses from like, you fire off 100 and you get like three people who reply. Well, one of them was sort of like was somebody that I'd been hoping to partner with for a while. Jacob Heppner. And so he was kind of the first one to give me the time of day, and he had a big following, like 250,000 or so subscribers, and really active page.
Tell us who Jacob is for those who don't know.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. So Jacob Heppner is he's not going to watch this. I think it's a 4 times, but it might be 3. I think he's a 3.5 times CrossFit Games athlete, I believe is what it says. So he qualified this year. He's finished. Oh boy, I'm gonna blow this. He finished 4th, I believe, last year. He's been a good athlete for a while. And so he's also. What's that?
I said we'll be sure to send him the link to this so you can see all.
Oh, his time is far more valuable than to watch videos of me. But anyway, yeah. So he had a big reach, and he had an online programming thing, and so he was using this super janky ghetto website, and because there wasn't a lot out there, and his big pain point that I was solving was I'm billing, I'm workout programming, I'm automated emails, scheduling all in one place. And their billing was separate from their workout programming. So if somebody signed up, it would like send them an email that said add them to the program, and he would basically have to log into a software, manually create them an account, manually give them access, and then if they stopped paying or their payment failed or they want to cancel, they would send an email. Let's say he was busy, forgot to remove them. They just get access to the program forever. It was incredibly disconnected. Jeez. And so my demo.
You find this out by joining something of his or through conversation with him?
Combination of things.
Yeah.
So he had published a couple
this
videos.
I'm asking that, sorry, for the people that are watching and like are doing this on their own and everything. Clearly, you knew what you were looking for, and you knew he was a target audience that you were going after. So you already had some information to validate what you're going after, and that's something that needs to be done. Be proactive with it. So sorry.
Yeah. No, you're good. Yeah. So I think that brings up a good point. So it was a combination of sort of hard work and luck. So there were some parts that I knew. I knew what I had seen about the software he was using, and was like, okay, there's some cool things to this. There's some things that I do better. But it wasn't until I actually managed to get them on a phone call that I realized what their workflow was to actually onboard a client. And so that was huge, because once I saw that, I was like, okay, he's a big enough athlete. It's not like just some random, mom and pop shop trying to do this. He's a big enough athlete where if there was a good solution, he would have found it by now. And so I quickly decided my effort was going to be towards the online community. I was still going to support gyms, but I learned also for all those entrepreneurs out there that features don't drive price, customer value does. And that was a hard lesson for me to learn because if you go to a gym, right, you pay, let's say $150 a month for a CrossFit gym, what you think you're paying for is you're paying for coaching, you're paying for community, and you're paying to use their location. You don't think of the fact you're paying for their software. So as a result, the gym owner wants to pay you less. But if you pay for online programming, you are paying for two things. You're paying for programming and you're paying for software. Those are the only two things. So you can get a bigger slice of that pie, and they need less things. They don't care about point of sale kiosks. They don't care about scheduling. They don't care about a lot of things. They just want their athlete experience to be good, and that they get paid on time, and that it's all automated, and they don't have to, have their hands heavily invested in their business. They want the software to drive it for them. So once I realized that, the pivot was kind of—
How did you realize that?
Talking to Jacob during that demo, when I realized that gap, and then when he rebranded and relaunched with BoxScore, he went from 50 users to 800 users. And it was because he was able to do things he wasn't able to do previously, like do promotions. You can't do a promotion when you manually onboard every client.
Sure.
Yeah.
But we were able to set up a trial where everybody got a free month, and now all of a sudden it's a lead aggregation tool. And it started to really show the value in the idea as that came about.
Oh, that's awesome. So you've got Heppner you guys are partners now, and he is using this platform. What else is your target market right now? Like has it changed at all through COVID, since we've been in shelter in place for the past couple months? Things are starting to lift, but gyms have been closed. There's been this switch to a lot of gyms trying to do online programming for their communities right now. Has that impacted you at all?
Yeah, so I think it's given me a significantly more visibility. A lot of it's actually been through a lot of people who follow Jacob are CrossFit owners or CrossFit athletes. So a lot of them sign up for his grit programming, shameless plug. And when they sign up for it, they start using the platform, and then they're like, oh, I wonder how this would work for my Ninja Warrior class, or my, whatever random thing that they do, their obstacle course racing or their CrossFit community. And so it just gets more eyeballs. And with COVID, the idea that your location's always going to be there is now something that people are holding loosely. There's kind of the idea of separating your business from your brick and mortar location. And so for me, that's kind of been a good way to kind of get eyeballs.
Yeah, we've definitely talked to some, different box owners, and I think that something that they definitely learned through this whole process is how they can be visible and keep the community flowing during this time period. So that's really cool that you've given them a really solid platform to be able to do that so easily.
So you have, like we said, you've been through multiple iterations of where you're at right now with BoxScore Fitness. What's the next step for it? Where are you targeting currently and moving forward at this moment? I mean, I know you've already shared this, what you're targeting. Yeah. What's the next steps for you?
Yeah, so the next step is continuing to refine that process for the online community. So, I still have some antiquated patterns that assume brick and mortar. Like we still have a schedule tab that really only makes sense for a third of our customers. And we have like a point of sale kiosk that assumes that you grab a Fit Aid and walk out with it and then pay for it. So we're starting to integrate with systems for t-shirt printing and things like that, where you can go and order, you know, if you think about the Instagram influencer world or online personality who's our sort of the new target market, you might be buying online product. So it's integrating with those solutions. We're adding a community tab. So basically like a Facebook group built in. One of the things that we've learned is that there's not really like a good way to foster community if you're an online program, in the sense of a lot of people use Facebook groups,
right?
But not everybody has a Facebook. So you might hit 80% and those 20% get marginalized and then leave your business because they don't get that sense of community. So we're basically putting Facebook groups right into the app. So things along those lines to continue to refine the process, make membership management easier. So like in the same way that you can, with a Hulu account, you can add, you know, the HBO package or the Time package, and it's like, oh, an additional $5 a month, that people can have multiple tiers of their memberships and add and remove them seamlessly. So it's that kind of stuff.
That's cool. And I kind of want to reiterate for a second here, like, you know, Mike is speaking to this company, but you literally built this from just the vision and an app that is coming to where it's at now. And you've done everything behind it all, from not just building, you know, technology-wise, building the app out, but to also the sales and getting people on board with you and to brand with you and everything to where it's at. So it's pretty cool to see where it's come, or where it has been to where it's come now, for sure.
So I would imagine all of this has taken a little bit of time. So what about family life? Like, how has that balance been with your wife and your kids when you get small children, or about to have children, but a small child? Has that been difficult at all?
Yeah. So that's been.
You've got the 9 p.m. to 2 a.m. second job too, right? We all know what that work life is like.
Yeah, those hours seem to be good. So Lauren will watch a show or sleep on the couch, and then I'll usually say, hey, it's time to head up to bed. And she says, what time is it? And I say, don't worry about it. And, you know, so there's been a lot of late nights. Fortunately, I'm finally starting to bring on help, which is nice. The development, I'll probably always have my hands in. I enjoy it, but you know, marketing, customer service, Instagram posts, it's not what I'm good at. It's not what I have a passion for. So one of the good things about starting to partner with Jacob Heppner is he, as a full-time athlete, he's very busy. And so he's learned the art of delegation. And he's like, Mike, this can't be the Mike show. And I'm like, great. I'm 3 years in. I'm done with it being the Mike show. So I definitely still have plenty to do, but you know, I'm learning the value of my time and trying to do that well. And so from family life perspective, you know, I try to take a couple nights a week off. I know that I pretty much take Tuesday nights off for a small group at our church, and then I usually try to take a weekend night off, and just roll with the punches, I guess.
Yeah.
We want to know when you're going to be able to get that partner WOD in with Jacob. Is that coming up anytime soon? You got to put that on.
I'd get humbled real fast. Nobody wants to watch that.
I'll be sure to put it back on part 2.
Exactly. Just follow up.
What is something that what's something that we can help with? Is there something for your business, like if from an outside perspective, or friends or customers or anything? Is there anything that we could do to provide you value at all?
I mean, I guess my target market, probably not. I mean, if you happen to know anybody who's looking to launch an online program or personal training, really just bring awareness of the fact that we exist is out there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, probably not a whole lot of direct, tangible things. You know, like our posts help our SEO.
Sure.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, I feel like
You have a question that you're going with.
I feel like you've given some really good advice to people that are either interested in creating something like this, not necessarily this particular type of app or platform, but just in the process and stuff, because you can see how it does take a little bit of time, but the nitty gritty, like getting to it, I mean, start to finish, you've given them some really good tidbits and stuff. I just love it. Yeah, sorry.
That pregnancy thing?
Yeah, the pregnancy thing definitely kicking in.
So before we go into kind of like our final questions or anything, I'd like to know what's your like favorite part of the job. I know you just mentioned that like the social media account or the marketing is not really the best thing, or is not your favorite piece, but what's your favorite piece of the company?
I mean, right now it's just I get satisfaction from seeing that it's finally working. A lot of times it's just in the trenches and I'm like, am I a hamster on a wheel or am I actually going somewhere? So there's definitely that. I like code. I mean, I do it as my full-time job. There's a reason I chose it as my career. I take pride in that. I enjoy it. But I think probably my biggest thing I enjoy is just having the ability to problem solve and try to look at stuff from a macro level and be like, okay, I see where we are and this is working, this isn't working. How do we, position ourselves so that we're in the right spot 3 years from now, 5 years from now, and try to like work through some of the complexity that's like, harder. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but it's fun to take your shot, I guess.
Well, and I think that's huge that what you just said is you're thinking 3 years from now, 5 years from now, because I would imagine, especially in the tech world, it's real easy to get pigeonholed into thinking here and now. Like you have a problem, it needs to be fixed. And so you can tend to lose that long-term vision. So I think that's great that you brought that up.
And the adaptability piece of it too, for anybody that's looking to get into something like this. You've heard Mike say it multiple times over and over. He's had to adapt to certain situations, and then the company he thought was going one way is now totally a different way, which is cool, and it's thriving more than ever.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So let's jump in. Is there anything else you wanted to add on that part before we jump into the final questions here?
No, I mean, I guess the only other piece would be like be willing to know that you're not building necessarily a product for you in the sense of like you said, what my vision was isn't where it is. I'm actually happier now where it was, happier now than where it started. But what I thought I was building isn't what I was building. So like if you are ever building a product or building a business even, you're building for a customer. And like it's important to keep that in mind. Like if you're building for yourself, you're doing a hobby. If you're building for a customer, you're building a business. And that took me a while to learn that.
Yeah.
Actually, so I've got another question I want to go into. This has been 3 years. Like get raw with this here. How many times have you thought about quitting before you're getting to where you're at right now? Or has it been a thought? Some people deal with that all the time.
Oh, no, it's been a thought. I would say, so the most recent one was coming into January 1st. I took off from like December 20th to the new year, which was basically the longest stretch. I didn't do anything in those 3 years. And I was like, I had still been talking to Jacob on and off because he told me he was going to move over to the platform back in October. And things happened. He ended up rebranding all the stuff, and it was kind of like got delayed. And I was like, look, if something doesn't happen by February 1st, I've got a couple of customers. It's going to be easy to tell them like, hey, I'm slowly shutting down. You got 6 months basically. And then all of a sudden I got a referral from Jacob. He still didn't sign on, but I got a referral from another athlete, and it gave me like a little bit of hope. And then I got a couple more referrals through him, and then Jacob signed on. And then all of a sudden it's like my growth curve went from like 1 or 2 to like 6 to like 15. And it's just kind of, started to just go vertical. But it sat for 2 years at like 1, 2 gyms at the very end, but 1, like it's a slow slog. So yeah.
Sounds like real estate.
Yeah, it is.
It's like 1, somebody may give you a referral and they don't want to use you. Then you prove your worth, and it starts. It's that hamster wheel. You just keep pushing, right?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
All right.
So here in the end of the interview.
Oh, I said hamster wheel. I meant flywheel. I meant flywheel, not hamster wheel.
That's a far better wheel.
That's all right. But right here at the end of the interview, we like to do these like rapid fire questions. Okay, so the first thing that pops into your brain is what you're going to go with. Okay.
Oh boy. All right.
You're not that, I promise.
How much can you squat? No.
So what's a book or a Netflix recommendation you have?
Oh boy, I don't watch a lot of shows and I don't read, but I guess when I do watch shows, I watch stuff like The Office or How I Met Your Mother because I can zone out for hours and then come back and just laugh and then go back into my own world of writing code.
Yeah, I think everybody should probably hit the pause button and just do that for a while instead of take a social media break and watch The Office.
I know, good shows like that. Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, do you have a favorite local restaurant or hangout spot? I know you're close to one where you live.
Oh, I mean, Sola is good. Jubala, we go to Jubala every Saturday morning. Oh, well, back when we could leave the house. Kai has great sushi. That's one of our go-tos. Salt and Lime, if you're ever looking for a surf and turf burrito. I like food. What I lack in shows, I make up for in food.
I was going to say, keep going. That's good. That was a good one.
Yes, the money question there. All right, so this one is definitely my question, but because non-coffee drinker here, but how do you take?
No, I'm still drinking my highball water. If anybody wants to sponsor me, this is the energy water that I pay $2.50 a can for. It's probably a fraud.
Probably needs to sponsor him at this point. But how do you take your coffee? And if you don't drink coffee, we need to know why.
So I have a Breville, so I just make an iced latte every morning. It's pretty simple. I do. So there's a place on Emerald Isle that makes an iced latte called Drops of Jupiter, and it's basically vanilla, honey, and cinnamon. And so I make myself a drops of Jupiter every morning.
That's awesome. We love it.
We've been there to that spot. We know what you're talking about.
That's fantastic. Well, I know you've already given a lot of really good advice that wasn't necessarily stated like that, but you've definitely dropped some nuggets for people who are willing to start their own business. They're interested in doing something like this. But if you had to pick out one thing you've either said or haven't said yet that's great advice for somebody looking to start their own business, what would it be?
As a small fish in a big pond, your advantage is not that you're going to be better than your competitor. It's going to be that you change faster than your competitors. So just be willing to adapt, because if you're not pliable, then you stand no chance. But if you are pliable, that's why our kids don't know what Blockbuster is, and their kids aren't going to know what Redbox is, but Netflix has withstood the test of time, and somebody will be the next Netflix. But it's like, how did Netflix beat Blockbuster? They were stuck in their ways. They were way bigger. And so that's just kind of, you have to be pliable because you can't be better initially.
Yeah, no, that's great advice. All right. Final thing is, do you have a business that you'd like to shout out that needs to be interviewed? And if you don't, then we'll bug you for it later on.
I'd have to think about it. I would name some you already are affiliated with, like Hunter Rowe. Sola. I don't know if you talked to John the Luthers.
I'd like to get him on here. We haven't talked to him yet.
Okay. Yeah. I can think about others, but those are definitely some good ones.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to reach out to John and Jenny. That's awesome. Well, do you want to do a quick little wrap up and everything? I mean, I feel like there are so many good things that we could pull out of this, but just, you have an idea, if there's an issue in your world that you want to fix and stuff, don't let it just continue to be something that bugs you. Like, go after it.
Exactly how Mike found what he's doing right now was he made the solution that wasn't there. He adapted. You heard me say it over and over, be pliable. That's the biggest thing we can take away from today's interview on that part. And hard work is kind of what it comes down to as well. I mean, who's not going to say that part? But truly it does. There's many times where you think about quitting, and usually it's right before that there's a breakthrough that's going to come if you can adapt and make your way through there. Where are some places that anybody could find you? Website, social media handles, anything like that?
Pretty much BoxScore Fitness on all the major platforms. So BoxScoreFitness.com, Instagram @BoxScore_Fitness. Same with Facebook. So yeah.
Awesome. And we'll be sure to link those as well in the notes at the bottom of the video.
Yeah. So this has been
for me. I'm Mike Bags usually.
Mike Bags, that's right. We call him Baglio. We may have in this, but Mike, thanks again for joining us today. This was Mike Baglio, owner and founder of BoxScore Fitness. So we appreciate your time. We'll link everything down here, and it's been awesome. Good luck with everything else moving forward.
Cool. Thanks for having me.